What's up, guys? Good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. Are we still recovering from yesterday's game? No, I have recovered, but I still cannot believe we won that game. Crazy. I rewatched the last 10 minutes of that game from when we conceded that second goal to us scoring that penalty like 20 times today. And it was absolute mayhem. But yeah, we're buzzing. It's Derby week. And the timing of the derby is official. It's a 12:30 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, so it's a lunchtime derby. Fuck lunchtime derbies, but yeah. So we're playing on Sunday at 12:30, which is, I guess it's better because otherwise it would have been played midweek, which is always worse. But yeah, I don't want to speak about the derby today. I really don't. We will have time to speak about the derby and prepare for it this week. It's gonna be a bit of a weird derby because apparently Lazio fans, of course, are not gonna go in the stadium, so it will have less of a derby atmosphere. But we'll speak about the importance of that game later on this week. What I want to do today is analyze. I know that there's not much to analyze about this Champions League train, but just speak about it in general. And second thing, I want to speak about things that happened yesterday post game, because of course we didn't have chance to speak about post game interviews in the match reaction yesterday, and of course we've got the Dybala news, and we've got kind of as a backing to the Dybala news what Gasperini said regarding the Dybala situation. DamG96, thank you very much for becoming a member. I really do appreciate it. Love the support, mate. So thank you for that. So yeah, because basically Dybala has effectively announced that the derby will be his last game in front of Roma fans, but I would be very careful when saying those are the words of a player who knows he's leaving. Those are not the words of a player who knows he's leaving. Those are the words of a player who is throwing the arrow to this ownership going, I want to stay, please take in consideration my stay. Because already everybody has made, kind of headlines of Dybala's farewell is the derby, Dybala's farewell, Dybala's last home game. It could be, of course, contractually it is. But what Dybala said yesterday is not an announcement that the derby is 100% going to be his last game. It's kind of like, the contract says it is, but I want to stay, and up to now the club hasn't done anything. But I have a lot to say regarding the Dybala situation, so we will open that bracket in a second. I want to start off with this Champions League talk, guys. Leave a like, leave a comment if you're watching after this live finishes, subscribe if you haven't already, do all of that good stuff, and yeah, just let me know your thoughts, positive, negative. What I would say is that, look, Milan, I watched the game yesterday, and Milan are under a train, and I don't want to jinx this because I strongly believe that our Champions League qualification depends on that game against Genoa. Like, that is the game. Because unfortunately, I strongly believe that Juventus will win both games and Milan will win their last home game at home against Cagliari. So if it happens this Sunday against Genoa. And I hate that we're playing at the same time. I absolutely despise it because there's just two massive events going on at the same time, and I'm like, oh my, I get a headache when these things happen. I need to sit down and properly grasp every moment of every game towards the end of the season. So the fact that we're playing at the same time does not help. Does not help when it comes to anxiety, because if Milan were to score and then win, then your hopes would crash. Even if you win that derby, you get the point. So I think if it happens, it happens in the Genoa game. Again, we're massively back in this race, but I would be very careful and cautious when saying that we are going to get it. And the reason I say this is for one very big reason. Because the history of this football club is reigned by bad luck. It's the history of the Roma. And it's just the epilogue of this season and of the life of a Roma fan will be exactly this. That will probably, not probably, but there's the chance that we miss out on Champions League by getting the same points as the fourth team. And that would be the epilogue of our history. It really would. It really would. Like, that would be something that... I'm not saying it's the equivalence of losing a Europa League final on penalties, because nothing will ever match that. But we're close. Like, we're very close. If we were to lose this Champions League because of that stupid head-to-head rule by getting same points as Milan and like 73 points, you would honestly just give up with football, because it just means that we're not created to be happy if we were to lose the Champions League like that. And that would be the epilogue of our history. The problem with it is that there's probably a high chance that happens, because it's okay, Milan are not living a good moment, but there's still the chance that they win both of their games and that we do. And if that's the case, and Juve also win both of their games, you would miss out on the Champions League by getting the same points as the fourth team. I'm not prepared for that. And can I just say, we don't deserve that. We just do not deserve. We do not deserve to be haunted like this every season. So if there is a god of football that is willing to make this happen, I'd rather we just lost the derby this weekend than get false hopes and then lose it because of that stupid head-to-head rule. Which then, if you trace it back, it's because of that missed Dybala penalty, and I was even there in Milan. Look, let's not. Well, I don't want to be pessimistic, but the chance is there. The chance is there, so we can't hide it. And I would be very careful when saying that we're gonna get it 100% because Milan lost yesterday. No, we've got a complicated game this weekend. It's a derby, of course, but Milan also do, and I find it crazy. And this is just the coincidences of life, that our Champions League qualification, provided that we do our job, depends on Daniele De Rossi. Like, that is just life coincidences that you just cannot write up. Our Champions... I would say that one of our 2 feet of our Champions League depends on De Rossi, because again, Milan are going to win their last game against Cagliari, and Juve are probably going to win both of them. So it's that game between Genoa and Milan, which is not an easy game. It's not. And De Rossi will have so much pressure, even though that team has no pressure, because Genoa have no pressure left, because they're safe and they can't get anything. So, yeah, look... this game week will be massive. This game week will be absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. It will be a mental game week, which can either... This game week that comes, for me, will decide it. Yeah. I have a bad feeling that whatever happens this weekend decides the final position, because then in the last game week I see us win against Verona and I see them win against Cagliari, and maybe Juve... look, there are just too many things that we're trying to calculate that I just don't want to calculate. But that's my thought on the Champions League race. The 2 games that will decide it for me are the derby, the Roma-Lazio derby, and the Genoa-Milan game. But I must say that Milan don't deserve that Champions League spot. Now, I don't care if they were second all season round. Milan, Como, Juve, and Roma deserve it way more than Milan. Way more than Milan. And they are so lucky. And I'm going to open another thing defending my team, because I'm here to defend my team at times. The mediatic assault that we got because we won yesterday's game is embarrassing, is absolutely embarrassing. Because the reason rival fans are speaking about robbery is just because we won that game in the way we won it. But if you sat down and properly analysed that game and properly watched that game without distraction, you will have the decency to admit that we were stripped of a penalty in the first half with Mancini, that foul on Wrench was blatant because he hugs him, and that the foul, that apparently the handball that led to Wrench's goal from Mancini wasn't even a handball. So I understand Parma's frustration of losing a game like this, and I don't blame them. And I understand the frustration of Juve fans, Milan fans, Lazio fans, because we won it in the way we won it. But you're not being honest with yourself. And what I need to hear, especially from Milan fans, after they got given that penalty yesterday night from Nkunku, are you joking? This is what I mean. Fans need to focus on themselves, and I need to do it as well. But there is no need for the mediatic assault that we received yesterday, especially with the hypocrisy from Milan fans who got that penalty on Nkunku yesterday, which could have reopened that game, which was embarrassing. Absolutely. Have you watched that penalty? Nkunku kicks it on and he gives a penalty. Like, this is the standards of referees. So I'm not having all of this assault against us just because we won yesterday's game. Other thing. Okay, Dybala. What Dybala said yesterday, he basically said, the guy asked him, will the derby, will you extend that contract? Will you stay? Will the derby be your last game in front of Roma fans? And he said that there's a high possibility that the derby will be his last game. Contractually, it is his last game, and a ton of speaking, nobody at Roma has given him a call and shown that willingness to extend his contract. Now, I'm going to start off with a base. The fact that nobody has called him to extend that contract, for me, is not surprising, because Roma at the moment does not have a sporting director, because the amount of time that it requires this club to appoint people belongs to history books. We are so slow when it comes to making decisions. Ranieri came out in the way he did against Gasperini almost a month ago in that Pisa game. The second he attacked Gasperini like that, you knew that he was never going to stay unless you wanted to sack the manager. So it's been a month now, 3 weeks now, definitely 3 weeks that Ranieri has officially left. We still don't know who the sporting director will be, because Massara will leave and Fabrizio Romano confirmed this. So the fact that nobody has given him a call, I don't blame Paolo. I blame this club, because this club is so slow at taking decisions. Like, of course, Dybala, your contract is expiring in a month, maybe even less than a month, the 1st of June. Whatever, the 1st of June? 1st of June his contract expires. You just had a baby. You want some stability. You want to know what the intention of the club is. Also because he's made it very clear that he wants to stay. And in my opinion, he's willing to take a massive pay cut to stay. It is clear that he wants to stay. And I think yesterday's interview, yesterday's words are kind of like Dybala going like this, going, come on, like I've set the base, now give me that phone call. So the thing with Dybala is that you can't blame him. He wants to know what his future will look like, but you have to blame the club here, because it's been a month and we still don't know who will be our sporting director. We're still here, and regardless of whether this is connected to the Dybala situation, this, for the sake of our future, is a problem, because programming for next season needs to take place. Maybe not now, because we're such in a massive race in the Champions League, which will probably determine the finances of this summer. But in 2 weeks' time, you have to sit down and plan the future. And if we don't have a sporting director, Ranieri left, the owners are never here. Like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Like that's my problem. Dybala wants to stay. It's very clear. I listened to his interview yesterday, and I'll be honest with you. I've criticized Dybala this season. I've never criticized the player. I've criticized the amount of money that he earns, compared to the amount of game time that he offers, and that's a massive valid point. I'll be honest with you. Listening to Dybala's words yesterday, you can tell that again he loves us and that he wants to stay. I've set my conditions for Dybala to stay. Dybala needs to accept a massive wage cut, which I think he won't have a problem in accepting. In fact, I would probably make his contract a flexible contract, which depends on his season and on his performances and on his appearances. So I would probably give him a 1 million, 1.5 million base. And then every time Dybala plays a game, you add a 100k bonus to his salary, which means that, let's say you agree for a 1 million base, that I'm going to pay you instantly. And then every time you play a game, you get 100k. That means that if Dybala plays every game of the season, this is a system based on meritocracy. So if Dybala was to play every game, he'd earn 3.8 million extra, which would bring his total amount salary to 5 million. But, that's what needs to happen, in my opinion, for Dybala to stay. Because you can't blame the club for not wanting to pay 12 million euros for somebody who, he's great at technical levels, but he plays, 8 games every season. So you can't blame the club for not wanting to offer that contract again. They are absolutely right in not wanting to waste that money. That's chucking money in the bin. That is like wasting money. So you need to make his contract a malleable contract. And the other thing is that he can't be the central element of this team. Now that doesn't mean that he's not a starter anymore. That means that if Dybala stays, for instance, you cannot not buy somebody that would still play in his position. Like, my point is, let's say that if Dybala stays, you can't get, example, I'm not sure if this is going to happen. I'm going to give you an example, so don't take this as a transfer rumor. Let's say that Dybala staying means that Nusa can't come. That is what I mean, making Dybala central. If Dybala stays with a restricted wage, great, but you also get Nusa, because this ain't 3 years ago where Dybala plays every game, or the majority of games, okay? He will get injured again, as I've said many times. So you cannot fix that position and give it all on him. If you extend it, good, but you need to get that other player that would play even if you wouldn't have extended his contract. This is the only way we improve. Otherwise, unfortunately, as much as it breaks me, because he was about to cry yesterday when he said these things, then I wouldn't do it. But if everybody accepts these conditions, then yes, with a limited wage, he's a massive addition to the team. He's got technical levels that nobody in this league has still, even though he's physically destroyed. And then I think Gasperini will play a big part in this. I really do. I really, really do. Because if we're moving in a direction where Gasperini has more and more powers, Gasperini has made it clear yesterday post-game that he wants Dybala for another year, and he would be very happy to train him and be his manager for another year. So you can tell that Gasperini and Dybala's intention yesterday was to kind of, to put that hand towards the board, going, we all want to continue together. Can we please sit down and rediscuss my contract? Now the ball is in the hands of the board. I think both the manager and the player have made their steps and have made their moves. now it depends on them too. Sorry, not on them too, on the board. Also, if we were to get Champions League, let's scratch our balls after having said this. If we get Champions League, I feel like he deserves to play with us in it, kind of as his last European dance. You know, if we were to get that Champions League, it would be fair to kind of, as a last dance, let him play the Champions League, because it would probably be his last Champions League campaign. So on that could also change dynamics. You know, whether we get Champions League or not, that could change things. It could also change the attitude of this board. You know, this board it acts in a very emotional way. So you can get that Champions League and they're over the moon and they'll extend everyone. You don't get that Champions League after all of this hope and they're like, no, we're not going to extend anyone. So I don't know. I think it's a situation that has to be monitored, but I don't agree with people that say that it's a confirmed farewell. No. In fact, what he said yesterday, in my opinion, is a way to get the board calling him. So that's what I'd say on Dybala. I always wanted to win the Europa League and then go to the Champions League. Look, mate, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, but we need a change. We need a new air, and the Champions League is the Champions League. That tournament, every season, the Europa League, I mean, has something against us. And, you know, I kind of see it as like that beautiful girl that you constantly try with. You were very close with one year. You were very close in getting that girl. And, you know, it gave you that hope, and every time you try, but you just can't get it. At the end of the day, there has to be the day that you go, look, that will be a circle that I will try and close one day, but now I need something new, because I've been trying and I've been wasting my time. The way I see it is that. And also, for the sake of competing even for the league title hopes in future seasons, we need a Champions League campaign. And we need a transfer session with the Champions League money. So, I don't disagree with you. The Europa League is that son of a bitch that one day we will catch. And it's that circle that we will have to close. But no, I want that Champions League. I want Champions League nights. I want Vini against Mancho at the Stadio Olimpico. I want Jose's return at the Stadio Olimpico. I want Lamine Yamal in front of my eyes. I want an away day at Anfield. An away day in Paris. I want that, and we deserve that, and we need a break from that Europa League, because as much as we'll have to win it one day. I've been saying this. I will never be happy until the day we win it. I will never be satisfied until the day we win it. Just leave it for a sec, and we'll come back to it one time. Because, I mean, look, we could be in it. I'm not saying we're guaranteed the Champions League, but no, now I want the Champions League. It's absurd that it takes 73 points to get in the Champions League. Years ago, you could win a Scudetto with 73 points. Yeah. Absolutely. Roma seems rejuvenated now that the drama is gone. We're so stuck with the Three Stooges, unfortunately. We could lose on head-to-head, which is ridiculous. If we lose out on Champions League by same points, then I'd rather slip up in a game. I agree. I fully agree, mate. I fully agree. We don't deserve... Look, we just don't deserve it. Like, please, up there, wherever you are, we do not deserve to go through that pain. We don't. So, if you don't want to see us in the Champions League, don't let us miss out on the Champions League because of a stupid head-to-head rule, getting same points as the fourth team and 1 point behind the third. Like, that's all I ask. Like, we deserve some... We deserve some mercy, man. After having lost, robbed on penalty Europa League final, after I can list so many things that went wrong that we didn't deserve. Please, the last thing we deserve now is to miss on this because we get the same points but we lose a head-to-head because of a fucking missed penalty. They should just my idea here is this head-to-head rule is stupid. Goal difference, fine. If you don't want to do a goal difference or don't want to do a head-to-head, it should all come down to a game. Imagine how cool that would be. Then if you lose, you lose. But at least you say that you lost a football game. You know, losing a Champions League because of a head-to-head rule would be an absolute bastard move. It would be epic to see a final. I'm just wishful hope. Any idea who will get signed probably for next season in the strengthening the depth of the squad? Nah, mate, I don't know. Not yet. And you know what? We need to enjoy these last 2 game weeks. Because the summer transfer window is not fun. So we've got 2 more games, which we will live at our best. And then we've got a big stop. We've got the World Cup, thank God. Very happy and glad about that. But the transfer window is boring. I hate reacting to it. So we have to end on a high. Dybala's wages needs to be less injury prone. Yeah, but you can't be less injury prone. You know, that's the thing. You can't be less injury prone. That's like saying to somebody who's blind, stop being blind. This is who he is. You know, you can't go, Paolo, please stop being injury prone. I can blame the Fredkins for everything. They have a combined net worth of 23 billion. They run a company that generates 13 billion per year. How much do you think they make at Roma? It would be tragic to lose Dybala, says Paul Leland. Do you think we get it? I'm not going to say, mate. I'm not going to say. I love you and I really would like to say that, but I'm not going to say. How many big transfers do we need to consistently be a UCL contender, and how many names do we need to get rid of? Well, look, Gasperini has been very clear on this. He does not want a revolution. He wants to keep this core, eliminate what he doesn't want, and add. And he's made this very clear. He said this after not this game, the one before at home, the Fiorentina game. He said, if I need to work with the ideas of other people, it's better for me to leave. And Gasperini has made it very clear what he wants to do. For him, this team is good. It just needs 3/4 Malen/Wesley type signings. These are words that came out of his mouth in a press conference. So for this manager, this team can compete, but it needs 3 signings like Malen and Wesley. You know, so there will not be a revolution because this manager will not allow a revolution. And frankly speaking, you know, you can like them, you cannot. But if you're 1 point if you're same points as Milan, 1 point behind Juve, and 3 points behind Napoli with a game in hand tonight, with 2 game weeks to go at the end of the season, yes, you're not the best, but you're a team that can compete. You know, this team does not need a revolution. This team needs adding, but quality adding, not shameful adding like Zaragoza, you know, and company. It needs quality, smart moves that will make it a better team. Will make it, you know, for instance, you ask me a player that needs to go, Chilik. Chilik for me needs to go because Chilik is a waste of space because he can't cross a ball, he's not fast, and he's not good with his feet. As much as he's played this season and he's been consistent, Chilik, that's already a change that if you get a Wesley type signing makes you better. Swapping Chilik and getting somebody like Wesley, that instantly makes you better. Then, other change, Cristante out and another one in, which is like a Malen Wesley type signing. Already with these 2 moves, you're in that top four consistently, especially if the level of the league is this. So you see what I mean? This team does not need to be bombed. And if you bomb this team, this manager will leave because he's made it very clear that this team will not need a revolution. It needs smart removals and smart additions. I think Genoa is one of the toughest teams at home. Absolutely, but the problem with that game is that they don't have anything more to ask from the league. But look, it is a tough game. We lost there. A lot of teams dropped points. Imagine the locker room talk Didier will give his players before the Genoa-Milan game if he's going to fire them up so much, knowing he's got Roma's fate in his hands. The only thing that we need to hope is that no Lazio players play in Genoa. You know that Valeri guy yesterday, that Parma defender, that Valeri guy, that guy's a massive Lazio fan, you could tell, because he played with a will in yesterday's game that I don't think he would have put in even a Champions League final. You know, we need to hope that Genoa don't have secretly unknown Lazio fans in them, because otherwise we're fucked. But yeah, I can't believe we depend on De Rossi. We depend on De Rossi, but we depend on ourselves. And look, remember, we're the ones chasing. This is a great moment. Yesterday was a great day for us. But remember that we're the ones chasing. So the ball is not in our hands. We need to do our job and hope in Daniele De Rossi. I'm going to leave you with this one. Hit the like, subscribe. If we can get 127 likes, it would be great. Otamendi, Kevin De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Silva, Sterling, Aguero. These are investments from the past. I'm good with my imitations. I really am. Okay. Speak to you soon. Simo out.